The next question is a follow-up question. Assume that the bond doesn't get approved. Given the average age of the city's other school buildings and the need for more space to accommodate a growing student population, what would you do? And this one goes to Mayor Kennedy first.
Well, I believe there is a provision where we can have a reconsideration vote. You would have to put it to the voters again. And we are trying very hard. We have set this vote for after school starts because I think that using the schools as a way to deliver the message by having the kids take the information home in their backpacks, the importance of this vote will be brought to the attention of the taxpayers. We've had a number of community meetings on this. The school has to be built. As I said before, if we don't pay 20%, we're going to be paying 100%. So we're hammering that message home right now. If it doesn't get through on September 17th, I think the next thing we do is have a second vote to see if we can change the results of that one. Maybe our information, assuming this scenario wasn't thorough enough, maybe we didn't give people enough of a convincing that we have to do this. However, if that second vote were not to pass, we would have to find a way to buy a school. We have to. There is no space available. We've looked at vacant buildings like the St. Patrick's School over in West Lynn. We've looked at St. Michael's Hall. We've looked at the Blood Building. There's nothing that we can convert into a school right now. There has to be a new building built. And really it would be a catastrophic event for the city's finances to have to take on the full cost of an $85 million school. We have to do it, but certainly we'd have to bond a lot more money for a much longer term, and the city would have to get voter approval for the bonding of the $85 million. So it really would put us in a bind if we were not successful. But if we have to keep educating children in that environment at Marshall Middle School, and don't forget, by extension, that would mean Pickering Middle School as well, but you're doing our children a great disservice. So please, take this opportunity right now to tell you, please vote in favor of this bond. It will not result in an increase in your tax bill, but it will result in our children having a new, modern, safe, state-of-the-art school in which to do their middle school years. Thank you.
I think I've spoken with pretty much every member of the City Council and the majority of the school committee, and almost every candidate on this particular issue seeking any office, and to a person, everybody appears to be in favor of building the new Marshall Middle School. There's no contingency plan. There's none in place right now. Absolutely none. On top of that, move away from the educational side. If we don't approve it, we, everybody here, are now going to own a new, undeveloped, contaminated site on Brookline Street. So it gets worse. So we have to not only do that, we have to approve it, but we also, if you take it a step further, what's our plan for the existing Marshall? What are we going to do with that? Is it going to be a vacant building? It's a horrific building right now. But we have to have a plan in place for that if it does pass as well. We have to, the school, the vision for the school and the long-range plan for the school is exceptional. It's a great thing to do. But what about the other thing? We need to have the same vision someplace else. Thank you.
The land is not contaminated. In the city of Lynn, which was a factory town, we had canneries, we had shoe factories, we have had a number of industrial businesses located here in the city. You're never going to find virgin soil in the city of Lynn. It's just not going to happen. But what is over on the Brookline Street site that Councilor Phelan is referring to is some minor, shallow contamination of petroleum-based products. It's nothing that's a hazard. It's not located on the part of the land that a school building is going to be located. I would have no problem with sending my children to a school on that site. You are all welcome to come and see the soil sample report that was presented to the ISD, to Mike Donovan. I have a copy of it at my office, and if any of you would like to come down and read the soil report, it is nothing that would prohibit us from locating a school on that property. And as far as there being no long-term plan, I've already told you what the plan is. And there's really nothing the city can do without the residents' help. We put out the first vote. If it doesn't pass, we have a re-vote on it. If that doesn't pass, we're going to have to ask the citizens to bond $85 million. If that doesn't pass, then our children are stuck going back to the same old Marshall Middle School until people get fed up with it. And at that point, we go back to the drawing, to the start line with the MSBA. We have to start the whole process over again. Now, we do have a 25-year plan that Rick Stoddard, actually one of the school committee members, has offered to carry forward. And what they are looking at on that subcommittee of the school committee is to have Marshall, followed by Pickering, followed by Cobbett and Tracy, because it does take years to get through the MSBA, but we are being proactive with a 25-year plan to have 4 new schools in Lynn by 25 years from now.
Okay, we can go on to the next question, and I believe this one Councilor Phelan will answer first. What specific things would you do to improve the DPW and inspectional services effectiveness in serving a community the size and demographics of Lynn?
I think inspectional services does a good job. There's been a lot of talk on the city council needing more employees at DPW. People get frustrated when their particular neighborhoods aren't kept up when they're paying a certain amount of taxes, and taxes are high in a certain amount of areas, and that frustration is legitimate. It's valid. The snow plowing this past year, I still hear about the snow plowing this past year, and what frustrates me, I know that everybody is talking about having a long-range capital plan on buying new snowplow equipment, but the city just signed a contract. We rent 5 pieces of equipment every single year for 4 months at $32,000 per piece, and we've been doing it forever. It's not working. After the 4 months go by, they go back to whoever we rented them from, then they come back and they break down all the time. Instead of renting and spending that much money year in and year out on these large pieces of equipment, we should buy them. We should buy them. It'll pay for itself over a period of time as long as you do the financing right. And I think that would go a long way to alleviating a lot of the issues going on. With the snowstorms, I think that what we need also is we need the Water and Sewer Commission to commit to allowing us to use their big equipment at the height of the storm, which is not happening now. We'll use the big equipment at the very end of the storm when we're desperate and begging for that. But we need to have that interagency communication improve so that we're not faced with situations that we've had in the past. Thank you.
First of all, I'd agree that ISD is in pretty good shape, and we've come a long way with getting some online renewals of permits and so forth. They have really done a great job with the number of personnel that they have. Now, I've been hearing a lot of criticism about the DPW and my handling of the employees and so forth. So I went back to the budgets from FY10 to FY14. Mayor Clancy was in charge of the FY10 budget. That was drafted and submitted to the Lynn City Council in the spring of 2009. The number of employees in the DPW for each of those 5 fiscal years that I just mentioned were as follows: 46, 46, 45, 45, and this year I have 47 full-time employees committed to the DPW. So actually that number is now higher than it has been in the past 5 years. With regard to the equipment and why we rent instead of own, it's very expensive equipment. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for some of the bigger pieces. And in fact, I did allow Dave Fink, our former DPW commissioner, to spend $350,000 in some new equipment just to get the ball rolling. I asked our acting DPW commissioner to give me a list of what she needs for equipment, $3.1 million. And that's something that has to be replaced on an ongoing basis. Now, what I've done is I've created within the fire department a vehicle replacement line item. So we never have to scrounge up money. And we do a 3-year lease to own on the major pieces of equipment. And since I've been here, we've gotten a ladder 3, engine 3, a ladder 2, and a new ambulance. And we never have to find that money because it's always recurring as a line item in the budget. What I'd like to do with the DPW is to set up the same type of recurring line item. So what I have asked the acting commissioner to do is prioritize these 32 pieces of equipment that she's looking for, and we will start to do a replacement. Some of the bigger pieces of equipment will have a useful life that's longer than some of the pickup trucks, the light pickup trucks and so forth. In fact, many of you may not be aware, but you know the grader that you see going around the city during snowstorms, especially up in the Highlands, it's that great big piece of equipment. It was built in 1962, and it's still going. So some of that equipment is very expensive, but it will last a long time once we get on that schedule. And then with respect to Councilor Phelan's suggestion of interagency agreements on the plowing, I've already talked with Dan O'Neill last week at the Water and Sewer Commission about just that very topic, and I expect that we'll see greater cooperation from the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission in coming storms. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we want to go on to the next question. I'm sorry.
In the beginning of fiscal year 2010, which was money carried over from the prior administration, I voted in favor of a new, I think, brand spanking new 100-foot ladder truck. I do think what would help, however, is that the commissioner of the DPW left in March of 2012. We have had an acting commissioner who has since retired. And now the only thing we have with the DPW is an acting associate commissioner. So for years gone by, we had a commissioner and 2 associate commissioners. We have 2 positions that are vacant and 1 acting commissioner who's a very nice person and has a lot of talent, but she's learning on the job. So I think those positions are vital to make sure that we have in place so that when we're faced with issues that are going on in the city, in the summer, we have to be repairing the roads now and addressing the issues for the winter so that we're not faced with some of the problems that we have in the past.
We have had 3 rounds of interviews so far and 3 rounds of solicitations for DPW commissioners, and have not found a suitable candidate yet. We have not given up. We have another candidate coming in next week for an interview, and we do have 2 permanent associate commissioners right now, 1 person who's acting as a commissioner. So there is that 1 vacancy, and that vacancy, as I said, we're looking to interview a candidate next week.
Next question number 11. Mayor Petty will answer this one first. Would you support a city ordinance similar to the proposed Massachusetts Trust Act that would make it clear that local police role in local law enforcement and not enforcing federal civil immigration policy?
The police in the city of Lynn are there primarily to stop crimes against its citizens and the property of its citizens. They are not the federal immigration authority. They are not ICE. They don't want to be ICE. They don't want them to be ICE. We've had a number of difficulties, in fact, with a rash of some larcenies and some purse snatchings and things like that. And one of the reasons why we were having such a rash of these a couple of years ago was because they were being committed against members of our Guatemalan community. A lot of the people in our Guatemalan community did not come here legally. They have jobs that pay them cash. And people, the bad guys who wanted to rob anybody who they knew to be a Guatemalan to work, was like, you know when their payday was, when they didn't have cash on them. And they were robbing so many of the citizens of that community that we finally, the police chief and I finally decided we had to have a community discussion to say, when you are a victim of a crime, we're not going to take it upon ourselves to look at your immigration status. That is somebody else's job. We are here to make sure that the person who's committing that crime against you or committing that crime against your property will not be doing it again. They are the ones who are violating, and the person, regardless of their immigration status, is a victim here. So I don't remember the exact wording of that. If you can read the last part about it, not enforcing.
Make it clear that the local police role is local law enforcement, not enforcing federal civil immigration policy.
We are adhering to that policy right now. That's the way we do things. The police are excellent at preventing crime, stopping crime. CLTs have been fantastic about the quality of life issues. It's not up to my police force to have another thing to worry about, namely the immigration status of the citizens here, the residents here. They have enough to do without that, and we believe that the ICE and federal authorities deal with.
Thank you. You know, answering it directly, no ordinance wouldn't have any impact on a federal law. The concern, what the Massachusetts Trust Act does, is it's trying to, in a sense, ask the state to bypass the enforcement of the federal law that Kevin Coppinger is mandated to enforce. And the concern of the local community is racial profiling. Somebody who is driving down the street, not doing anything wrong, who happens to be undocumented, getting pulled over because he's racially profiled, and then reported to ICE, and then all these horror stories occur that he's being deported because he didn't have his license. You know, when somebody said to me, you know, they said, you know, that's wrong. So this is all a learning curve for me. So I investigated, I met with Kevin Coppinger, I met with some community leaders. And what the chief of police said to me, he said, what we do is if we arrest somebody and we fingerprint them, and usually if you're arrested and fingerprinted, it is for a crime that is serious, then we send your information to ICE. However, if we pull you over, you don't have a driver's license, that you're not reported to ICE. You're not deported for running a stop sign or a red light. The issue here comes down to racial profiling. One of the frustrating things, one of the things I've done over the years is I've coached soccer, and through the years, both boys and girls teams, I've become friends with a lot of different people with different nationalities. And one person whose brother, two older brothers, a younger brother, went through the Lynn school system, were born in the United States. He, with his mother, went home to Guatemala for a vacation, which he was expecting, happened to be born there. I think it was a couple months early. Came home, went through all the Lynn school system, kindergarten and everything, and when he tried to get in-state tuition at a local college, he was called an undocumented illegal alien. I don't think that's what the law intended, but was that a legitimate issue at the time? It was. So I think what happens, the more important thing is that the communication has to continue between the local community groups, the police department, so that we treat everybody equally in the city of Lynn, and everybody feels welcome. However, if you're a criminal, regardless of whether you're documented, not documented, illegal or not illegal, and you should be deported if you're doing something, I agree with that.
Would you like to answer that? Okay. Then we'll go on to the next question to be answered by Councilor Phelan. And this is, well, I'm going to read a little background on this question. In the context of municipal elections, which often see certain areas post much higher voter participation levels than others, what is your campaign strategy in terms of reaching out to voters? How will your campaign reach out to those who might not normally vote in a city and engage residents from all neighborhoods in Lynn in the political process?
I'm not going to give Mayor Kennedy my strategies. My strategy is, and what I do, and and I've been doing it for a couple of months, and I've always done this. I knock doors. I knock doors everywhere. Whether people are registered to vote, not registered to vote, you hear things from people, you get ideas from people, they pass word on to somebody else. They enlighten you. They educate you as to what's going on, because whether I'm the city council president, a neighbor, or the mayor, I represent that person. So that's how I reach out. People do it different ways, different strategies, but I think face-to-face communication is the best way to do it. Thank you.
Funny thing is, I was thinking the exact same thing that Councilor Phelan was. I'm not going to tell him what I'm doing. But I think my approach is similar, only whereas Councilor Phelan will go and knock on the doors, which I do as well, I go to the places where there are groups of people. I think so many of you have seen me at numerous city events, not just during the past 4 years, but during the last 20 years. I mean, always at some Little League field, or over at a ribbon cutting for somebody, or over at some awards night, or in the schools to congratulate the reader leaders at a particular school. I like to get out and meet the people. And I like to show them that I'm a real person, because a lot of times the image of mayor is not the same as the person who is the mayor. A lot of people will exalt somebody in a position like that. I mean, it was so crazy the first couple of weeks after I was elected. People asked me for my autograph. People wanted me to stop on the street and take pictures with me, and I was up on Facebook, tagged everywhere. I don't know. But the advantage to being a people person and getting out to all of these events is you get to know people. So I would call it more of a soft sell, that I can casually tell people what I think about the events that are going on in the city without having to go up and read some prepared statement about this is what I have done and just what I am going to do. Just the idea of being out and about and getting to know the community has been so very valuable to me. And as always, I've always run a really grassroots, low-budget campaign. I intend to do the same thing this time. I remember one time after I had gotten elected for councilor at large, there was a Lynn personality named Joe Spina. I'm sure some of you have seen him on the City Voice, and he says, hey, let's call that Councilor Flanagan and have her come down and talk. And then he says, Councilor Flanagan, if you're out there, come on down to the studio. And then he looks right in the camera and he says, she's not going to pay for the gas to come down here. So the low-budget approach is going to continue. We managed to do the 2009 election on a little over $40,000, and this one might be a little bit more expensive, but I'm very, very cognizant of every dime that my supporters donate, and I want to make sure it's going to good use all the time.
The mayor reminded me of something when she said, when she became mayor, that people would ask her for her autograph. I distinctly remember when I first became the council president, I came home and I told my wife, who was in bed, she rolled over and said, make sure you put the trash out.
That was fun. Thank you. Move on. Okay, this next one goes to Lynn first. When will the Northern Spring Community Trail come through Lynn? I enjoy the Everett and Malden section. I know Saugus and Revere are working on their parts. When can we expect Lynn to get on board?
Well, I've said this before. There are a number of concerns I have about that strand. This is commonly known as Vice of the Sea, for those of you who are not familiar with the other name, the Northern Strand Trail. I have met several times with various proponents of Vice of the Sea, and there are a couple of issues that I have. One is that I had my law office review the MBTA lease that would have to be executed in order for us to prepare that pathway. The law department did not advise us to sign it. They were worried about the cost of liability, the cost of maintenance, the absence of lights, the absence of security on that trail. And we reached out to the MBTA to see if there was any way to modify the lease to get more favorable terms, and we were not able to do that. One of the issues I have in particular with it is the fact that this trail will cross several major streets when it comes into Lynn. It will cross at Boston Street, it will cross at Summer Street, it will cross at Western Avenue, and it will cross down on Commercial Street, with a number of bikes going through, particularly on Western Avenue, because I live off of Western Avenue. I believe I counted 17 traffic lights between the Salem line and getting down to the Lynn Marsh Road. I think there's already 17 sets of traffic lights. I'm just concerned that with G right there, peak times such as 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 7 o'clock in the morning, if we're going to have bikes coming through, the traffic is going to end up being quite a mess. I agree with it in concept, and I have told the people from Bike to the Sea that I have not completely ruled it out, but I'd like to see a little more concrete information before I'm going to commit to something like that. Who's going to clean it up? I mean, we already have 158 miles of road in the city of Lynn that the DPW has to take care of. Am I going to give them another 4-mile bike trail to take care of? Right now, I'm not so sure that I would like to do that. If I can find other ways, if I can find a way of mandating some volunteers to do it, if I could get the DPW to sign off on having some of our volunteers from the senior tax abatement program that we've instituted, if they could take care of the trail, then I'd take another look at it. But right now, the idea is just not financially feasible or feasible from a safety point of view as much as I would like it to be.
I will sign the agreement for Bike to the Sea. My philosophy is, you're walking down the sidewalk, you're walking down any street, you can get hurt on city property, and that liability is still going to be there. I've met with them a number of times, and I say to myself, why does it work? Why does it work in Revere? Why does it work in other municipalities, but for whatever reason it doesn't work in Lynn? I've always had the philosophy that don't tell me why we can't get something done. Tell me how we can. Let's not just say no and wait and hope we get something done, but how do we do it? There are different levels of this program. It's not tar and pavement at the very beginning. There's like a compact that goes down. There are a number of different ways to do it. What they want is they want the concept, and they want the belief, and they want the idea to be there and commit to that. And that's the first step, because if you don't believe it can happen, it's not going to happen. And I will support that, and I will make that happen. Thank you.
Okay, do we have time for one more question? Question number 14.
Show of hands. How many people really need to get home and don't have time for one more question?
All right. Height already addressed. The city council passed a waterfront master plan and a zoning plan. We rezoned the entire waterfront. There are different height restrictions at different portions. Next to Seaport Landing, the height restriction is only the height of what's on Seaport Landing. I think it's 7 stories. Actually has a secretary of the city council go down there, hop in the elevator, and count how many buttons were in there when we were writing that. On the far end, on the Revere side, the height restrictions are higher because we're trying to attract a different type of thing. There are things in the work I can't talk about per agreement that is confidential. However, besides that, I say to myself, everyone's hoping that we have a hotel or a community down there, and you want all that stuff to happen, and you hope it's going to happen. But what can we do in the short time, or the little periods, the smaller things to attract people? And I look at Seaport Marina. We got a grant from the state, money from the city side, the mayor, the council bonded the last portion of that money to repair the marina. But after we repair the marina, we're in the same situation that we've been in the past. Okay, it's only a matter of time because it barely pays for itself. Should the city be in the business of running a marina? You know, we decided a few years ago, 10 years ago, when we cleaned up Gannon Golf Course, that we shouldn't be running a golf course by ourselves, and that has moved in a great direction. I don't think so. But what can we do on top of that? Why does Swampscott and Marblehead and Salem have kayak classes and sailboat classes and rowing classes on their waterfront, but we don't do that in the city of Lynn? You know, we have to expand. You know, why don't we have down there bike rentals? You know, why don't we bring in the waterfront? I love the fact that we do the Thursday concerts. Why don't we have jazz festivals? You know, we have the Newport Jazz Festival down there. If we're looking to make our city something new and creative, we have to think out of the box and push it a little further. Let's have a film office. An arts office. Salem has a film office to attract people. We wait for people to come to us. Hey, we're going to give you some money to film a film in Lynn. You know, that's great. But we need to think out of the box. We need to do things that we've never done before so that we can expand on the foundation that we have. And that's the type of innovation and energy and excitement that I'm hoping to bring to the mayor's office. Thank you.
Councilor Phelan mentioned the $500,000 that we've gotten for the wave attenuator through the bonding that recently took place. We also got just this week a $267,000 voting infrastructure grant, which is going to be used to improve the marina as well. And we do have a number of unique things that are already taking place down on the waterfront. We have the casino boat back in the city, the Aquasino. They started sailing in late June, and from what I'm hearing from them, it's been a great success. I've heard their advertising on WBZ. They are certainly not limiting their potential audience and their potential patrons to just the Lynn area. They're really reaching out to make this a regional attraction. And as far as not having something like the Newport Jazz Festival down on the marina, we're not going to have anything of that down on the waterfront. We're not going to have anything of that scope. If any of you have been to the Newport Jazz Festival, there are 4,000 people in there, and it's in a multi-acre park over at Fort Adams, one of the original forts down in Newport. But we have had the World Folk Festival for a number of years down on the waterfront. If you go down to Red Rock Park, you'll see that there's a Thursday night concert series there. During the summer, we have the movies out on Red Rock Park that will show once or twice during the summer. And as far as the remainder of land that's already down there, we do have active development talks ongoing for the South Harbor. Now, part of that, whether that is coming to fruition or not, is going to be dependent on whether there is a casino okayed for Suffolk Downs. I think that's why people are proceeding cautiously. There are a number of private landowners that own those parcels. It's not just one big parcel, so that people can deal with one parcel, one owner, and one developer. We have multiple parties involved in almost anything you do on the South Harbor. Further up the harbor, at the Beacon Chevrolet site, we have been working actively through the Economic Development Office with our state delegation, with the state of Massachusetts, in order to effectuate one last piece of the puzzle up there. It's all ready to go. It's ready to be marketed for sale. there's just a land swap that has to be approved by the state. Once that land swap is approved, that parcel will be ready to be developed. So development doesn't happen overnight. The power lines were moved in, well, the approval was given in 2007, and they started the removal of them in 2010. But we have been making strides, and we have a number of interested buyers. It's been interesting to see them come around as the recession has tapered off, and we're starting to show a little bit of recovery, and I'm hoping for great things down on the waterfront in the near future.
You know, just staying focused on the waterfront, you know, we have the GE Dare plant that was demolished that's down there. There's this huge vacant parcel on the other side that could, you know, should we be actively engaged in talks to move the Walmart from one side of the street to the other side if we're trying to develop the waterfront? Why does the city have an abandoned car lot in the middle of the waterfront and we're trying to attract people to the waterfront? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's you know, counterintuitive to what we're trying to do. Beacon Chevrolet site has been undeveloped for as long as I can remember. Nobody is pushing that forward, and we need to push it forward. You know, I love the fact that Aquasino was here. That's great. Horizon's Edge was here, you know, 4.5 years ago. You know, it's okay, that's great. Horizon's Edge was great. Aquasino was great. You know, it just seems for every Demici's Bakery and Rossetti's that come into town, we're losing Lynn Lumber, we're losing Johnny's Food Master, we're losing Blockbuster Video, we're losing Tello's. You know, that's what's frustrating to me. It seems like we're planning, and we can't do that, or we're not going to move forward. We have to have all those places need to stay so that they want to be in Lynn so we can really expand. Thank you.
Just to be noted that Tello's and Blockbuster, and Johnny's Food Master were chains that went out of business. So no amount of planning on the part of the city of Lynn would have kept either Blockbuster or Johnny's Food Master. Lastly, with respect to the auto auction, I was one of the people who agreed to re-site the auto auction over there because I didn't believe that was going to be one of the sites that would be the first, the prime site, the anchor site that would be used for the waterfront. And we're better off having a business in there bringing in tax revenue than letting that property sit vacant, waiting for the right development to come there. And one other thing, on the auto auction site, we have actually had preliminary talks with somebody who has developed 7 hotels in the greater Boston area. It's all very preliminary right now, and I'm not one of those people who wants to announce things before they're pretty concrete. But I don't want anybody to think that we're just sitting on our hands waiting for developers to come to us. We are out actively recruiting, and we do have somebody who has expressed an interest in that particular site, as well as on the South Harbor site and as well as the Beacon Chevrolet site. So it's coming together. It takes time, but all of those are in the works, and I expect them to continue, and we will see development down there.
Okay, before we go on to closing statements, I'd just like to thank the candidates for a lively and spirited debate, as well as the audience. I know everybody in this room will probably get out to vote. Tell your friends to vote. Get them to vote too. So the closing statements are 3 minutes, and who goes first will be determined by a coin toss. Councilor Phelan will have heads, Mayor Kennedy left tails. So.
Well, first of all, thank you for being an attentive and enthusiastic audience tonight. I have to tell you, I love my job. I have the best job in the world, being mayor of the city of Lynn. And I'd like to prove it. And it can be in big ways, it can be in small ways. We have made so many improvements to this city, with so many more on the horizon. We've straightened out the financial messes in the city. We've got gotten rid of the old way of doing things. We've included people. We now have more minorities that are on our boards and commissions than we ever had before. When I was a city councilor, I pressed so that we could get city council meetings on TV for everyone in the city to see, so they knew what their government was doing. When I got to be mayor, I did the same thing for the school committee. We now have school committee meetings on TV. Boards, board meetings, agendas, minutes, budgets, they're all on the city website. We revamped the city website so that everybody could see what was going on. We understand in my administration that this job is not an employment agency, it is a customer services delivery organization. And to that end, we are very responsive to our public and what they want. We started the idea of feedback forms that virtually every office in the city of Lynn has. So that when you, as a member of the public, go in there and you want assistance from that department, if you don't like the customer service you got, you tell us about it. And we are responsive to that because it is you who are our employers. We have also worked to better the quality of life, for young and old alike. We have lights put in for night baseball and football practices over at Barry Park. We replaced the lights over at Fry Playground and over at the Bowser Complex over by Greece. Now we're putting in lights over at Wyoma Field, the Wyoma Little League. I've already mentioned the automated trash program that we're looking for going forward. I've also revamped the traffic commission. They used to meet at 7:30 in the morning in a back room they had to be buzzed into. No more. 4 out of 5 of those people are now gone. We have a brand new traffic commission. They've been fantastic about the way that they're moving things forward. We are ready to go to automated parking on the Andrew Street parking lot. We are also ready to buy from, actually the city has bought from the Off-Street Parking Commission, the Wyoma Square lot, which is going to be automated as well, and which is going to give us the more parking that we're going to need once that traffic improvement plan gets done in Wyoma Square, because that will be taking away some of the parking spaces. We've done everything from Zumba classes to help the health of the city, employees, to now the Lynn Food and Fitness Alliance working on a complete streets initiative that is going to make walking easier for those pedestrians and those sport walkers in the city of Lynn. I'll tell you more later at the next debate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, the Lynn Community Association. As a member of the City Council, over the years, as I mentioned earlier, I think I've been very, very active. This past year, we passed for the first time in the city's history a Human Rights Commission. We have an ordinance that prohibits the sale of drug paraphernalia in the city of Lynn. We have the Homeowners Bill of Rights, passed an ordinance that prohibits strip clubs from locating in the city of Lynn, which never before was in the city. The city, you can't eliminate them in their entirety. You have to find a zone for them, like they have up on Peabody on Route 1. So what I did on the city council, allowed them to go to a heavy industrial area, but did something creative in the ordinance that they could do it in a heavy industrial area because that's what the law requires, but they can't have a liquor license. So if you, in all likelihood, prevents that from ever coming in. Created the ordinance on the level 3 sex offenders. The Lynn Disability Commission, the first time we've ever had a disability commission. I passed a teen texting ordinance for 17 and 16-year-olds 2 years before the state passed the same law. People ridiculed and blogged about me about it, but I look at that I wasn't afraid to take a chance. If you recall, years ago, put the dental clinic into downtown. We banned teen smoking. It's illegal for teenagers to smoke in the city of Lynn. It's not illegal for teenagers to smoke someplace else. They just can't buy it. One of the first things that we did. The downtown development doesn't occur unless we stop the teen jail for felons that the connected people wanted to put into downtown before we changed the zoning to allow the old buildings to be changed into condominium. There's a lot of different there. The Hotel Edison, people probably don't remember that I was the driving force. That place was a drug-infested, city-owned hooker hangout. And I wasn't afraid to take on the people. I could go on and on. But I find that the people of the city of Lynn don't ask for much. They ask for good schools, an affordable roof over their head, good, safe neighborhoods to live in, and to make sure that their elected officials aren't wasting their tax dollars and are doing it for the right reasons. That's what I bring. I'm not here to do something personally or to attack somebody during this campaign, but I think when I look at the eyeball test, that we're status quo. As I mentioned in my opening statement, we have a foundation. We're in the first gear, and we need to be in fourth gear. And I think that I will live this job if you give me the opportunity. I will live the life of dedicating myself to doing what's best for the city of Lynn. And I ask for you to give me that opportunity because my energy and passion can bring us to fourth gear. Thank you.
I'm not a candidate for anything, as I always say, but Tom said I could have 2 minutes. And I'll try not to take all of it. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and participating in this event. I want to thank our candidates, Mayor Kennedy and contender Tim Taylor, who's the president of our city council. I want to thank all the press that came out. I want to thank our board for their work on putting the event together. And I want to thank the Congregation of Shalom for once again allowing us to use their facility. And I mean, we couldn't do this without them actually. Some of you have a brochure that has 1 extra sheet of paper in it, and my green side won, and I was going to throw the brochures out, and I'm like, no, I'm not wasting 100 pages of paper or the ink that I printed them with. My printer did a faux pas, but I used those anyway, so your brochures actually have the same information in them. They just maybe have a few blank pages in between somewhere. For the press, if you would like a copy of the questions that were asked tonight, I have them printed up here. I'll be happy to give you a set at this point in time. So we'll share those. And if you did not get a brochure at all, we will get this posted on our website by Friday. Inside your brochure that has our calendar, so I'm not going to go over all of those things right now. We thank you again for coming and hope that you'll come to our next event, which is August 21st, same place, same time on this. Thank you so much.